The Silk Roads. These words evoke images of camel caravans, exotic spices and bustling marketplaces, but the Silk Roads were much more than just a trade route. They were a network of interconnected pathways stretching thousands of miles across continents. For centuries, the Silk Roads facilitated the exchange of goods, ideas and cultures between East and West. Imagine a time when the world was vastly unknown. Travelers and merchants braved harsh deserts, towering mountains and perilous sea voyages to connect distant lands. This interconnectedness gave birth to a vibrant tapestry of cultures, religions and knowledge that shaped the course of history. From the bustling markets of Chang'an to the vibrant streets of Constantinople, the Silk Roads pulsed with life. They carried not just silk but also spices, precious metals and exquisite crafts. More importantly, they carried new ideas, beliefs and technologies that transformed the world. The Silk Roads stand as a testament to human ingenuity and our desire to connect with the wider world. They remind us that even in ancient times, globalization was shaping the destiny of civilizations, leaving an indelible mark on the world we know today. The Silk Roads were not the creation of a single empire or ruler. They emerged organically over centuries, shaped by the desires of merchants and the ambitions of empires. The origins of the Silk Roads can be traced back to the 2nd century BCE during the Han Dynasty in China. Emperor Wu, a powerful and ambitious ruler, sought to expand Chinese influence westward. He sent envoys to Central Asia, seeking alliances and new markets for Chinese goods. These envoys encountered the Parthian Empire, a formidable power that controlled the trade routes across Persia. The meeting of these two great empires laid the foundation for the Silk Roads. The Chinese, with their exquisite silks and sought-after goods, found eager trading partners in the West. The Parthians, strategically positioned along the trade routes, benefited from the flow of goods and the tolls they collected, and so began the slow but steady growth of the Silk Road. Caravans laden with precious cargo began to traverse the vast distances between East and West. These early journeys were fraught with danger, but the lure of profit and the promise of new discoveries kept the merchants going. The Silk Roads were more than just a means of transporting goods. They were a conduit for the exchange of ideas, religions and cultures. As merchants and travelers traversed these routes, they carried with them their languages, beliefs and customs. This led to a rich intermingling of cultures along the Silk Roads. Buddhism, originating in India, found fertile ground in Central Asia and China thanks to the Silk Roads. Buddhist monks traveled with the caravans, spreading their teachings and establishing monasteries along the way. These monasteries served as centers of learning and cultural exchange, attracting scholars and pilgrims from far and wide. The Silk Roads also facilitated the spread of Islam. Muslim merchants, traveling from the Arabian Peninsula, introduced their religion to Central Asia and China. Mosques sprang up along the trade routes, becoming important centers of worship and community. The interaction of cultures along the Silk Roads was not always harmonious. Conflicts arose, empires clashed, and ideas were contested. But from this crucible of interaction emerged a vibrant cultural fusion that left a lasting legacy on the world. Along the Silk Roads lay a string of vibrant cities, each a testament to the wealth and cultural exchange fostered by the trade routes. These cities were not merely stopping points for caravans, they were bustling centers of commerce, culture, and cosmopolitanism. Chang'an, the capital of the Han Dynasty, marked the eastern terminus of the Silk Roads. From its bustling markets, silk, tea and porcelain began their long journey westward. Samarkand, located in present-day Uzbekistan, was a major crossroads and a center of Islamic learning. Its stunning architecture and vibrant bazaars drew merchants and travelers from all corners of the world. Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, marked the western gateway to the Silk Roads. Here, merchants from the East met their counterparts from Europe, exchanging goods and stories from distant lands. The city's wealth and splendor were a testament to the riches that flowed along the Silk Roads. These cities, along with countless others, were more than just trading hubs. They were melting pots of cultures where people from different backgrounds lived and interacted, exchanging ideas and shaping new identities. Section 5. treasures traded, from silk to spices. The Silk Roads earned their name from the luxurious silk that flowed westward from China. Prized for its softness and shimmering beauty, silk was a symbol of wealth and status in the courts and palaces of Europe. But, silk was just one of the many treasures that traveled along these ancient routes. From the east came spices, such as pepper, cinnamon, and cloves. These aromatic ingredients were highly sought after in Europe, where they were used to flavor food, preserve meat, and create perfumes. Precious stones, like jade from China and lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, adorned the jewelry and religious objects of the wealthy. The West, too, had its own goods to offer. Glassware from Rome, horses from Central Asia, and textiles from India found eager buyers in the East. The Silk Roads facilitated a vibrant exchange of goods, satisfying the demands of consumers across continents and fueling the economies of empires. Section 6. The flow of ideas, religions, philosophies, and innovations. The Silk Roads were not just conduits for material goods, they were also channels for the exchange of ideas, religions, and technologies. As merchants and travelers interacted, they shared their beliefs, knowledge, and innovations. Buddhism, with its message of peace and enlightenment, spread eastward from India along the Silk Roads. Buddhist monasteries established along the trade routes became centers of learning and cultural exchange, attracting scholars and pilgrims from far and wide. The Silk Roads also played a crucial role in the transmission of scientific and technological knowledge. Papermaking, invented in China, spread westward along the Silk Roads, revolutionizing the way knowledge was recorded and disseminated. Gunpowder, another Chinese invention, made its way to Europe, transforming warfare. The exchange of ideas along the Silk Roads was not always a one-way street. Western innovations, such as Roman glass-making techniques and Indian numerals, also traveled eastward, enriching the cultures of the East. Section 7. Shifting Sands of Time. Empires, Invasions, and Transformations. The Silk Roads were not static pathways, they were constantly evolving, shaped by the rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of trade, and the movements of people. Over the centuries, the Silk Roads witnessed periods of great prosperity, punctuated by times of decline and disruption. The Mongol conquests of the 13th century had a profound impact on the Silk Roads. Under Genghis Khan and his successors, the Mongols established a vast empire that stretched from China to Eastern Europe. They secured the trade routes, encouraged commerce, and facilitated a period of unprecedented cultural exchange. However, the Mongol Empire eventually fragmented, leading to renewed instability along the Silk Roads. The rise of the Ottoman Empire in the 14th century disrupted trade routes, as the Ottomans imposed taxes and restrictions on merchants traveling between Europe and the East. Despite these challenges, the Silk Roads continued to function, albeit in a diminished capacity. New routes emerged and trade patterns shifted. The Silk Roads, once a symbol of interconnectedness, became increasingly fragmented. Section 8. The end of an era, maritime routes and the decline of the Silk Roads. The age of exploration, which dawned in the 15th century, marked a turning point in the history of the Silk Roads. European explorers, driven by a thirst for knowledge and a desire for new trade routes to the east, set sail on voyages that would change the world. The Portuguese discovery of a sea route to India in 1498 dealt a significant blow to the Silk Roads. European merchants could now bypass the land routes controlled by the Ottomans and other intermediaries, accessing the riches of the East directly by sea. The rise of maritime trade routes led to a gradual decline in the importance of the Silk Roads. The overland routes, once the lifeblood of global trade, became increasingly marginalized. By the 17th century, the Silk Roads had largely ceased to function as a major avenue for international commerce. The decline of the Silk Roads marked the end of an era. The interconnectedness that had characterized the ancient world gave way to a new era of maritime trade, dominated by European powers. The interconnectedness that had characterized the ancient world gave way to a new era of maritime trade, dominated by European powers.